If you struggle to allocate time for your portfolio update, believe me, I get you. I was there myself multiple times because I changed 9 jobs in UX design during the 16 years period, and I had overall like 6 versions of my own portfolio. And although there is no one magical answer how you can find time to update your portfolio, I have developed some tricks and techniques that help me do this every time, and I'm gonna share them with you. My name is Ines, my channel is about UX design. Subscribe. As I said, there is no one silver bullet, no one size fits all when it comes to finding time for things like portfolio update or for all other strategic topics we have in our life. You know, in my opinion, adult life is all about finding balances and compromises. And it often happens that in order to find time for something strategic, you need to take this time temporarily from something else. So the first technique that I use when I need to update my portfolio is that I do time audit. I basically try to be honest with myself and I list down all areas of my life where I currently devote my time. And you know, no magic here. I just really think, what can I optimize to carve out additional 3-4 hours a week that I can dedicate to my portfolio. And you know, when I was in my 20s, this exercise was actually quite easy. I could just always cut out on getting out with my friends. And that worked all the time just perfectly, but now, as I'm getting older, this exercise is getting more and more complex. Because now I have to do some tangible exercises. I had to relocate the resources from the areas of life that I would love to keep. And chances are that I don't have areas of my life that I can sacrifice anymore. And in order for me to find these 3-4 hours per week, I had to be really creative. And usually what I do is that I see if I can do things that I do right now, but in a more optimized way. For example, instead of going to a gym, I exercise at home. Instead of cooking meals, I order the delivery. You might not like the idea of sacrifices, neither do I, to be honest, but it's either you carve out this time to do strategic exercises like portfolio updates on your own terms, or you postpone it until it's too late, and then sacrifices you will have to do will become bigger. I'd like to see these sacrifices as a temporary measure and a way to control the possible future damage from not doing my portfolio now and postponing it until it's too late, until I'm burned out, until I don't have energy to do this. The second trick or technique that I use right after I have identified what areas of my life I can sacrifice or repurpose somehow, I place out the blockers in my calendar for 3 or 4 hours each week for a portfolio update or for another strategic thing. And I try to ensure that those time slots, they will not be interrupted. It could be realistically pretty tricky because if you have cats, dogs, children, you cannot just switch off the notifications. But I encourage you to do that, and for me it works the best if I set myself this time during the morning hours. Usually there are no calls, people could be sleeping at my house, and I can safely work on the topics that I believe are strategic. And I encourage you to experiment, to be creative, to think what time can work the best for you. But without setting those time blocks, I notice that I keep postponing this task and I just don't work on anything strategic. By the way, this is how I create courses and contents and maintain the UX portfolio club that I have. And people, they are often ask me, how can I balance this with doing a full-time job at Zalando? And this is the answer how. The third technique that I use is that I try to find people that are doing the same. The thing is that working on strategic topics can be quite lonely, and I always account for this loneliness and I think upfront, how can I tackle that? It could be especially lonely when everybody in your house are still sleeping, or they are going on a walk, or your friends are going out and you have to stay at home sitting in front of your laptop and doing the things that are important but they are hard anyway. So actually I approach this every time in a different manner. I either find a colleague or a friend who needs to also accomplish something strategic, and we agree that we set ourselves a time to either catch up on each other's updates or to work with each other with our cameras off, just so that I can feel a presence of this person. If you are, by the way, a part of the UX portfolio club that I lead, there we have a buddy program, there we have a monthly goal setting exercise, so you will likely not be alone there. If you feel alone there, then let me know, and the link to the club will be down below. But it is just important that if you are like me, you also have somebody that keep you accountable. I actually picked up this technique from my university times, because there I had a lot of motivation and I could finish everything. I finished my thesis, I was doing all of that while working full-time, while working as a freelancer, and that was because when I started to analyze this, that was because we had a lot of accountability. I had other friends who were also students with me or from other universities, and we were often meeting together in a library, for example, and working on our topics. Although our topics might have been different at that time, the sheer feeling that you are not alone in this really boosted my motivation, and that's why I tried to drag it to my adult life. The next technique that I use is that I set myself a deadline. I realize that it might not be for everyone, even from my colleagues or from my friends. I often hear this attitude that I'm placing too much pressure on myself sometimes. But I just know that if I don't have a deadline, chances are that I will be prioritizing something else in the moment, because I find that something else to be more pleasurable. So I usually say something like, I will update my portfolio before my summer vacation. And also the thought that at some point it will be finished and I will enjoy my vacation or I will enjoy my free time really motivates me to continue. If you've been following me on social media, you know that this is how I also learned German. I learned German until the C1 level in just 3 years, because I really set myself the time that I will finish it by the December 2024, and at the Christmas time I will not be thinking about German anymore. And this is exactly how I did it. I passed my exam on 20th of December and I enjoyed the free time. I congratulated myself, although at some points I could feel some pressure of this deadline and I had a temptation to postpone this deadline as well. But I just know that it works for me, it keeps me motivated, and eventually I will really enjoy this freedom after a certain period of time. Now, the fifth technique that I use to speed up my portfolio creation is that I buy helpful templates and mockups. I must say that I did not do this in the beginning of my career because I didn't have enough money. I thought it's not fair that I use a portfolio template that was created by somebody else, and I was really struggling and I was creating everything from scratch. I was animating all mockups from scratch until I actually started hiring and I realized that it actually doesn't matter. So as a hiring manager myself right now, honestly, I could not care less if the portfolio layout is a template or if a person created it from scratch. What is important for me is what they place in those templates and those mockups, and that's why I could really disregard the surrounding. By the way, that might only work if you are looking for a job as a product designer in a tech company or a startup, because there we are mostly looking at how the problem was solved, how it was researched, what insights were sourced, and how they were eventually implemented into the actual product. When you're looking for a job as a freelancer or in an agency, using a template might not be a good idea, especially if this is a very animated template with a lot of 3D or other visual effects, and you are not able to produce those visual effects yet on their own. And these visual effects might mislead your future clients or an agency into making them think that it is what you can produce. And then when it will turn out that you have just bought those mockups and you cannot actually produce them yourself, that might lead to some dissatisfaction or even into the termination of the relationship. So in this case, it is still possible to use templates and to buy mockups, but just be sure that in case it is needed, you can produce the visual design on the same level. By the way, if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, give me thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. That's important for me and for YouTube algorithms. And we're moving on. Now, the technique number 6 is a very powerful one, but it might also not be for everyone, same as with setting yourself a deadline. I'm talking about starting applying before your portfolio is fully ready. So instead of waiting until I have everything in place, sometimes I just add some previews, making sure that I teaser the projects that will come and that I will be able to show during the interview process. But I'm not yet revealing them because honestly they are just not ready yet. This technique might not work for people who have never worked with big tech companies and have no interesting and well-known names in their portfolios. Because think about that in this way, that if I am a hiring manager and I see that the person have been working in Amazon, for example, and I see there is this logotype, but I just cannot see this project just yet, I can still give this person credit and trust and invite them to talk, because I know that more or less the practices that they have at Amazon, they are the same as we have at Zalando, for example. So I will probably not be disappointed by this project, and especially if this is backed up by a very good CV where I can see that this person have been working at Amazon not for just a couple of months but for many years, and they probably were promoted there or something like that. I can be assured that I will see something interesting if I invite this person for a talk. But if you are just starting out and you don't have big names or a strong CV on your side, then maybe this technique is not for you yet. At the same time, if you are eligible to use this technique, it could further speed up your portfolio creation. Because same as setting yourself a deadline, it will keep you motivated knowing that at any time a hiring manager might be opening your portfolio and assessing it. And another positive side of this technique is that I was able to land a job many times even before I have finished my portfolio. And I personally believe that the ultimate goal of a portfolio is to enable me to land a job that I like. So I am satisfied with the result of this exercise, even though I technically did not complete my portfolio. And another aspect that I think this technique is helping me with is that it helps me to battle my perfectionism. Because again, I feel this pressure that at any point a hiring manager might be assessing my portfolio, and I feel that it's better for me to place something there than to place nothing. And that also forces me to think in iterations. So maybe my first iteration on a case study will be a very short description, some pictures, no animations. But because I'm still in touch with the idea that my portfolio is already out there, I will add more iterations to make it look outstanding. My 7th technique, I'm sure everybody of you will like it, because I make sure that I reward myself for doing hard work. In my opinion, what makes a portfolio update so hard is the realization that it is a very long, hard and unpaid job that you had to carry in order to progress in your career. I think it might not be even super fair, considering that engineers, they don't have a portfolio in a sense how we understand it, or PMs, they are able to find a job just by sending out their CVs and explaining what they did during the interview process. And for us, there is this additional layer, additional artifact that we will have to create. And I personally hate it. Like, I will not be hiding this from you. Every time when I had to update my portfolio, I found this work really hellish. But what makes it more bearable for me is to ensure that I have incorporated a small rewards system that I'm always reminding myself about. For example, I might be telling myself that after I complete my portfolio, I go for a full day spa experience. or I tell myself that I will dedicate the full Saturday for my portfolio update, but at the end of the day I will go and eat out to reward me at my favorite local restaurant, for example. Your rewards could be really anything. I find that it is a good idea to stay away from sweets, for example, because I used to reward myself with the sweets and chocolate for a long time, but then personally I don't feel it's good for my health, so I try to also find something that is more healthy and also more interesting for me at the moment. For example, right now, as I'm working on the UX Portfolio Club for the next iteration, for the next era of the club, I really promise myself that I will buy myself a book that I really like every quarter once I finish and once I'm done with all the tasks for this quarter. And because I already have a lot of books and I have a Kindle, buying a book for me is really a luxury because I love this experience. Books are very expensive and this is a really motivating reward for me. The last technique that I'm going to tell you is a very good one, and I used it multiple times throughout my career, but to be honest, I don't use it anymore, and I will explain why. I find it is sometimes really good to join a short-term portfolio course, because not only you will get an access to some materials and feedback, but you also will have their accountability and deadlines. And sometimes I find it is really convenient because otherwise you will have to control those techniques yourself, but on a course they are given. So say the course is 4 weeks long and you only have portfolio reviews every Wednesday, I don't know, and then you will have to be prepared to those Wednesdays and you will have to be finished until the course is finished. Right now, I don't join the courses like that because for me it's a bit stupid. I lead the UX Portfolio Club and technically I do the same things that all the people are doing there right now when I'm updating my portfolio. But I use this technique for other areas of my life when I have to do strategic work. For example, right now I'm really working on the quality of my content in Instagram. That's why I bought a course on creating reels for Instagram. And it keeps me motivated, it gives me a community, the course has a deadline, and that's why I really feel that I progress in this matter. But also, of course, I realize that sometimes when you are updating your portfolio and you are without a job, buying a course might be an additional burden, so it's not something that I would recommend for everyone, and that's why this is also the last point in my list. And maybe this is a good idea more for career switchers or for people who want to change a job within UX design already, and then they have some full-time job that gives the income source, and valuing time and buying this system might be a good idea. So those are the techniques that I personally use when I need to update my portfolio and I need to find a time for it. You see, as I said in the beginning, those techniques, they are very far away from magic or from finding a silver bullet, and probably some of the techniques will not work for you. But what I've learned so far about portfolio updates and strategic topics is that postponing them might result in a really uncontrollable damage. And it's better if you will find a way how to control and manage this damage to reduce the long-term implications. Because I've also been there. I've been postponing my portfolio update. I've been postponing the job search, sometimes for many, many months, until I was burned out to ashes. And if you follow me for some time, you know that I had already 3 burned outs and it was really tough. I do not recommend it to anyone, especially my last burnout was really heavy and I was thinking to quit UX design altogether. By the way, let me know if you want a video from me about my burnouts and how I get out of them. But every time I regretted that I did not start the portfolio update sooner, that I waited until I have no energy to do that and I had to quit or I had to go and get mental health support in order to even source out any energy into what is needed to be done. And unfortunately, without having a portfolio, it is impossible to get a job in UX design. I personally couldn't find a technique that works for me to keep my portfolio always updated. I know that there are some people that manage to do that. I think I had one portfolio version that I could keep more or less updated, but that was when I was working in an agency and I was basically reusing the same artifacts that we had for agencies case studies. So I just was preparing them for the agency portfolio and then I was using them in my version. That was the only technique and the only situation when it came out naturally for me to keep my portfolio updated, and then I could find another job while working in an agency and I could always be on the search more or less. But with the product work, I think it takes too much time to prepare the case study, to describe the story, to describe what has happened, to make it engaging, to prepare all artifacts, to find all those artifacts. So chances are that you will have to find a time in your calendar to do that. It will not come out naturally. By the way, feel free to comment what techniques or tricks do you use for yourself to update your portfolio, or maybe what techniques have you picked up from the list that I've given you in order to update your portfolio and to make the next version. I would be really interested to read this, and also other people who are watching this video, I'm sure they will appreciate getting ideas from others. And that was it for today. And if you like this video and you want to receive more videos like that, then hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell. This way you will get a notification when a new video comes out. And I see you next time.